Gang. Ayo, fam. Welcome to another banging episode of Africa Rising. Today we're going to talk about Africans versus African Americans. Okay, so let's start by this. I first want to address this argument or this issue that a lot of Americans, a lot of African Americans are ignorant and don't know much about Africa. A lot of them think Africa is a country. They don't even know that it's a continent that consists of many countries within the continent, right? So they just think of Africa as one big place and everyone comes from Africa. They don't know that it's a continent, you know? It's like saying people come from Europe and Europe is just like one big country, but it's not one big country, you know what I mean? So the thing is, I want to differentiate and say that African Americans should drop the African part of their identity, so to speak, because you cannot identify as African if you don't know anything about the continent, or if you don't know anything about Africa, you don't identify as African, and anything you do or say does not represent Africa in any way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean? For me, I think it's a travesty of justice to the Africans when people use the term African when they are not African. You may look like an African, but you are not African and you don't identify as African. And then there are stories that Africans who actually go to America actually experience a xenophobia type of situation with the black Americans that are over there because they saying Africans are not the same as them and they're above Africans and all that kind of thing, right? So we need to address that situation. Do you get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I feel like African Americans should drop the African part of their identity because those that do not identify with Africa or with Africanism should not use that term African American. You know what I mean? It's a different story. So that's why I like to prefer to use the term Black American to those that are ignorant to the continent and to Pan-Africanism, so to speak. I mean, you're not going to hear us saying we are American Africans because we're trying to be like Americans, whatever the case may be. No, that will just never work because we know our roots. We are deeply rooted and we are definitely trying to be progressive in that regard. Do you see what I mean? Whereas Black Americans do not see themselves as from the continent. Well, not all of them, but I'm talking to the ones who predominantly see themselves as I'm born in America, I'm an American, I don't identify with Africa, I don't even wear any African jewelry, clothing, I don't read African anything, and I subscribe to this 1 month of African literature, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. You know what I mean? They don't know anything about the continent. All they just know is that Africa is one big massive country. Do you know what I mean? So I'm speaking to those people. Then for me, I just feel like it's sad that such people forget their history or want to forget their history and don't want to be associated with Africa in any way, shape, or form because they think it's a lower standard or it's a lower, or they're lowering themselves, or they, how can I put it? It's like they're lowering themselves and they just don't think anything of the continent. They think less of the continent than they do of America. Do you understand what I mean? They would rather be associated with black British people. You understand what I mean? And maybe that would be, but I guess it's all the doings of the white media. So I just feel like it's sad that there's internet and there's data and there's access to all these different types of media that one can do research on and find out what Africa is about and how Africa has progressed and how Africa is progressing. Do you know what I mean? But it's sad that, yeah, so here we are doing these videos and we're saying the world is becoming a small village and the world is becoming one big village, or the world is getting smaller and smaller, and yet there are people who still just don't have information about simple things that is at their fingertips. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I can't see how African Americans who don't identify as Africans can happily use the term African American when you could just simply use the term Black American. Do not say African American if you do not identify with Africa. That's all I'm saying. Would that be wrong to assume like that? Would it be wrong to assume that? Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'm just simply saying that African Americans who do not identify with the continent should drop the African part of that identity and say they are Black American. You know what I mean? Do not use the word African. That's just my saying. And another thing, Americans, Black Americans, African Americans, when you come to the continent, please stop using the term motherland. We in Africa dropped that 500 years ago. Well, not 500 years ago, but in the 90s. We stopped using that in the 90s. By the 2000s, nobody was talking about the motherland. We do not use that term anymore. So don't come here and be like, oh, I'm with the motherland. Oh, I'm in the motherland. We don't care about the motherland. It's like we coming to America and we keep coming to you with that. I have a dream speech. I guess, and I doubt that you guys really want to hear the I have a dream speech all over again. Imagine that. So that's how it sounds when these Americans come to us with the I have a dream speech, or when they come with the I'm in the motherland. Oh, the motherland this, the motherland that. Stop with that rubbish. This is not the motherland anymore. It's Africa. Yeah, I should stop ranting, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're all brothers, we're all sisters in one. But hey, you know, if you're Black and you're American, get to know your history, be proud of your history, be proud of where you come from, be proud of your ancestors, what they went through, pay it forward, give back to the continent, do what you need to do. Because as a Black American, as an African American, I just know for a fact that you suffer some sort of discrimination in your country. So therefore, you cannot claim that America is your country because the owners of the country don't even want you there. So Africa is where it's at. Come back home, do what's right by your ancestors, and let's just move the continent forward. You know, bring your skills, bring your money, bring your ideas, bring everything, and let's push Africa forward. I'm telling you, there's nothing more precious in this world than your freedom. Walking out into the fresh air, not looking over your shoulder, not worrying about cops, not worrying about gangs, not worrying about gun shootings, nothing like that. So come to Africa. If you have the money, come and find your own little piece of paradise and help grow the continent. That's all I can say. But yeah, going forward, I hope African Americans and Africans can unite and see each other as one and not as two different entities. You know what I mean? Peace.